Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I am Rockin Robbie Billups, and it's time for Robbie Rants. And today, we're going to be talking about that reveal in Action Comics 975. Alright guys, before we get going talking about Action Comics 975, I'm just going to warn you, spoilers abound. If you don't want to know anything about the comic, if you do not want to know who the mysterious Clark Kent is yet, then stop watching this video because I'm about to just spoil the hell out of it. So, 975, Action Comics, second part, Superman Reborn. I talked about it a little bit on the weekly comic book review, but now let's really get into it. Mr. Mxyzptlk is the mysterious, creepy Clark Kent. Okay. I was going to do a video where I was going to go over some of the people that I thought maybe could be the creepy Clark Kent. It was going to be like Ulysses from the Jeff Johns run a couple years ago. Superboy Prime is who I really thought this was going to be, especially at the end of the last issue when he was all like, "You ruined my life," and all that stuff. However, Mxyzptlk makes perfect sense. Talking about the DC Rebirth Watchmen stuff now, right? So Mr. Oz, that enigmatic figure that's first debuted during the New 52 Superman run by Jeff Johns, John Romita Jr. Who is this guy? He's definitely connected to the Watchmen in some way. A lot of people think he's Ozymandias from the Watchmen. Is he? I don't know. I lean that way. A lot of stuff seems to point that way. The name, the logo, the monitors that he's watching, and even the way that the monitors are shown, they don't just look like regular monitors, they look like comic book panels. There's been a lot of this 9-panel grid used in DC Rebirth, which is something that is really used heavily in the Watchmen, and I think that's on purpose. I really do, because it's not that common, and it's not very common to use the 9-panel grid anymore in superhero comics, or at least it hasn't been for a while now. And I think a lot of DC Rebirth is intentionally doing this, possibly. I know Tom King typically kind of writes in that way. Vision had a lot of that. It also had a lot of Watchmen comparisons. I'm getting off topic. Mr. Oz, is he Ozymandias? I don't know. I almost want to feel like it's a little too on the nose that Mr. Oz is Ozymandias, but it's obviously connected to this DC Rebirth Watchmen missing time Dr. Manhattan type stuff. So that's really neat. But Mr. Oz has been going through and pulling people off the board, if you will. Is he trying to amass some power sets for like a future battle? Is he pulling people off specifically because they are figuring things out? Like in Detective Comics, Mr. Oz pulled Tim Drake, and he said it's because you were reconnecting things that weren't meant to be reconnected yet. He pulled out Doomsday, possibly as a weapon, or maybe to stop something terrible from happening to Superman. Mr. Oz obviously has a lot to do with, he has a lot involved and invested in what's going on with the DC Rebirth Superman and Lois and Jonathan. He pulled Mxyzptlk out because if we are dealing with a DC Rebirth Watchmen thing, we're dealing with crazy crisis type stuff. We're dealing with shifting realities, multiversities, all kinds of stuff like that, right? So Mxyzptlk is a huge character. If you don't know, first of all, he was created by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, so he's way back from the day. 1944 is when he debuted in Superman number 30, I believe. Yes, Superman number 30, Mxyzptlk. He is an imp from the 5th dimension. His powers are limitless. If you're a Star Trek Next Generation fan, think of him like Q. He's a very mischievous character. He pops into Superman's life like every 90 days or something, and causes a bunch of mischief because he's got these crazy reality-altering powers. He's like a Franklin Richards type as a power set. He's like a Dr. Manhattan type. So if plans are involved, if there are plans from either Ozymandias or Dr. Manhattan, I don't think that Manhattan and Oz would be working together. Is Oz Manhattan? Like seriously, like no one, are we thinking about that? I think the Oz is just too on the nose, but I don't know. I really don't know. There's a lot involved. But he pulled Mxyzptlk because he would be able to figure these things out. He would be able to stop any kind of multiversal reality bending type stuff that's going on in the DC universe as it stands right now. So it makes total sense to me. So I'm totally down with Mxyzptlk being that Clark Kent. And I like the idea that he wanted Superman to save him, and Superman didn't come. And so his expectation of Superman caring about him is really hurt right now. And Mixyzptlk, he's always been a jokey character, but he is an imp from the 5th dimension. So basically, what we think of as Genie. So he's a higher dimensional being with limitless powers, basically, unless he's tricked into saying his name backwards, which is weird, but comic books back in the 40s and 50s, right? So there are times where he's been a much more threatening character. For instance, there is Whatever Happened to Man of Tomorrow by Alan Moore. Mixyzptlk is basically tired of being the mischievous little devil in that and decides to be a literal devil in that, spoilers, but it's a really great story, and it adds this dark dimension to Mixyzptlk. Plus, other characters like Vindictivus, for instance, in the Grant Morrison Action Comics run from New 52, was a very, very nefarious creature, imp from the 5th dimension as well, and it shows you how disastrous these powers in the wrong hands could actually be. That is also elaborated on in the 90s or early 2000s story in Superman Emperor Joker, where the Joker tricks Mixyzptlk into giving him his powers, and the world is remade. All of reality is remade in the Joker's vision. That's an excellent story. If you've never read those are great stories. Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow and Emperor Joker. I'll throw links down below where you can buy them on Amazon at great prices and help support PCP, so that's cool. If you've never read them, I highly recommend them. Emperor Joker is amazing, and Whatever Happened to Man Tomorrow is a great book by Alan Moore, a good tribute to the legacy of Superman. But back to Mixyzptlk, he's got crazy powers, so of course you take him off the board, and I thought it was clever, and I really liked it. The issue itself is pretty good. Like I said in the review, it feels like this whole issue is just meant to be the revelation of Mixyzptlk is the new Clark Kent, and like Doug Mahnke does the art on the main story, and it's beautiful, but it's got crazy stuff. Like Doug Mahnke, as well as some of the other artists on the Superman books, they're doing a really good job of making these things huge, explosive, using the right perspective, super colorful, all kinds of craziness. But there are a bunch of these unnecessary, like single page, big things that it just kind of, it makes it a really fast read, and for a extra-sized issue, it's kind of whatever. But there's a lot of stuff in the back that explains a lot more. There's Mr. Oz and Mixie right there, for instance. So it definitely does elaborate a lot more on the DC Rebirth Watchmen mystery, a lot on the Mr. Oz mystery, and I really didn't think they were going to reveal who this Clark Kent was so soon in Superman Reborn. I thought it would happen maybe in Chapter 4. So I'm really excited to see what they got for 2 more issues. Like, are we going to learn, what more are we going to learn about Mr. Oz? It's really starting to heat up, guys. I know a lot of people started saying they really need to get to the Watchmen stuff. It's only been a little over half a year since DC Rebirth started. About, what, 9 months now? 8 to 9 months? And they've already started, like, doing a little bit of things. We got Superman Reborn now. We got the Button coming out. And don't forget, guys, we're at $9.75 on Action Comics, which comes out twice a month. So that means we're going to get to issue 1,000 of Action Comics this year, this summer. You don't think that's going to be a big deal and a big issue with all this stuff? I think it will be, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. So the issue was good itself. The backup story by Paul Dini really sheds a lot of light on who Mixyzptlk is if you do not know. Read some of those books before that I mentioned. That's really cool. But he's a cool character. He's fun. Sometimes he's uber annoying. But I do like his involvement in this. It makes total sense to me, and I'm down for it right now. Superman Reborn has just been awesome so far. I really love the Superman books. I love the mystery of the Rebirth and the Watchmen and all that stuff. And it's about to start unfolding in a very, very, very big way, guys. I promise you. So let me know down below, what did you think of Action Comics 975? What do you think about Mixyzptlk being revealed as the super creepy, ultra creepy Clark Kent? What do you feel about Superman Reborn, DC Rebirth, Watchmen, all that stuff in general? And most importantly, who do you think Mr. Oz really is? Who do you think he really is? I'm going someone from the Watchmen. Ozymandias seems to be the obvious choice, but I don't know if it's too obvious. That's what I'm going to say. But let me know down below in the comments. I love talking to you guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate that. I really, really do. Be sure to subscribe. I do a weekly comic book review every single week, and we do movie reviews, top 5 lists, all kinds of crazy stuff. We got a podcast. You can check it out at popculturephilosophers.com. Like I said, I appreciate it. Give us a thumbs up, and like I said, subscribe and share with all of your friends, but warn them, spoilers in this video, because you don't want to spoil it for anybody, right? Anyway, thank you so much, and thanks for rocking.